USC's defense played like a boss, and Bear is no longer a story.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching this show on YouTube, wherever you're going to listen to this podcast, the show is always going to be free, and you know I'm always going to appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Got to tell you, right off the bat, social media, I get it. It's a necessary evil. It's literally the fastest way to communicate a message, especially if you're hanging over there on X, formerly known as Twitter. Sometimes those messages we get, they're vague, but they come with some subtle hints. We really understand what they're trying to convey, but you're still not quite sure. And that causes some issues. And it tends to shift the focus where it doesn't belong. That's something that Lincoln Riley had to deal with at the end of practice. I'm sure some of you are aware there's been a war of words going on out there between Bear Alexander's father, guardian / mentor, advisor. Anyways, he's out there defending the person he represents, Bear Alexander. Apparently, someone decided to kick Bear when he was down. And Bear's father saw this and decided, you know what? I'm going to take on the world. So he's been in a pretty heated battle with some USC fans and one former USC player in particular. Anyways, you guys can check that out on your own time when you want to see it. A little bit of drama that wasn't unnecessarily drawn up. So anyways, because it's out there, Coach Riley had to talk about it after practice. Bear Alexander was USC's best player on defense last year, 2023. Well, it's been after that, I think might have had a little bit of ego going. And you might remember during the spring, he didn't really participate that much. It's been speculated that Bear tested the transfer portal before he ultimately decided to stay at USC. I want to be clear. This isn't a Bear Alexander issue or even a USC issue or an NIL issue anymore. This is his father's issue. All right. And I understand, blood, non-blood, whatever. Someone you feel close to, you're going to protect him. You're going to protect his interest. You're only going to be looking out for him. Let me be clear. The official reason why Bear Alexander missed so much of spring camp was because we were told he was dealing with injuries. I'm telling you, that wasn't the case. I'm sure he might have had a bruise, might have been dinged up a little bit. But again, he was the best player on defense last year. You're going to give the benefit of the doubt that, you know what, he can just flip the switch, turn it on when he's ready, as long as he shows up. Let me just say this. College football is a business, okay? NIL can be renegotiated, and that's what was taking place during the spring. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. That's what was going on. He was a spring holdout. He's still a Trojan, though. He ultimately chose to stay at USC. But I want to remind everybody, right, because there seems to be a little bit of if you're looking at it from the outside in, some could perceive a sense of entitlement. I'm not saying that's the case, but perception is one person's reality. And if you were paying attention to what was going on, the way it's being portrayed on social media, it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. So I guess, remember, Bear has his history was he played 3-4 different high schools. He was at Georgia. He left Georgia when playing time was just waiting for him the next year. Fortunately, he ended up at USC. So I guess the best way to describe it is Bear likes to explore different environments, see new things, right? That's how he ended up at USC. Myself, anybody in the media, really, no one's spoken to him in forever, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So that's why Coach Riley was left to address the situation. So with us not being able to ask Bear why he tweeted after the game against Michigan, quote, free 9-0, he wears jersey number 90, we're left to speculate. What did he mean? Did it have something to do with he only playing 21 snaps during the game? I think that was the case. USC, but remember, USC's defense was only on the field for 58 total plays? This was Coach Riley's answer to the drama between Bear's father, mentor, guardian, and what's going on social media. Quote, he played over a third of the game. People want to act like he's not playing snaps. He's doing a good job for us there. There's no story there. I know you guys are looking for one. There's no story there. Well, when he said you guys are looking for one, just want to be clear. The media did not create this non-story. Some random blogger out there and a parent started turning this into an issue. And Coach Riley wasn't done with his statement. He wanted to make sure he got his message across very clearly. Bear, referring to Bear Alexander, he's in a new system with a new coach. He's getting better, and I think he's going to get better. It should be hard to play defensive line at USC. It ought to be kind of hard. It wasn't hard last year. That's why we weren't very good up front. So sometimes it's not what someone is not doing, but it's competitive. And there's tough decisions to make every week. Go look at the last snap of the game. See if he's on the field. There's no story there. Guy is getting better. He needs to keep improving, and I'm confident that he will be, and I'm confident that he will with the coaching we have and the room that we have him in. End quote. So let's unpack that statement, right? Bear hears directly, he hears that message on the daily from the coaching staff. He's not hearing that when the media is around. That's the private type of stuff that Lincoln Riley just said. Last year, again, he was USC's best player on the defensive line, without a doubt. Now, new scheme, new players. Nate Clifton, Gavin Meyer. You got others like Kobe Pepe who are developing into big-time dogs under the coach of Coach Henne. Again, going back to what Coach Riley was just talking about. Think about this. It's not Bear Alexander who Coach Lynn, Danton Lynn, and Coach Riley want the other players emulating. That honor was bestowed to Gavin Meyer. Remember when they said this? He just does everything the right way, the way he prepares, practices meetings. That's why he wants the younger players watching Gavin. That was a message to Bear, indirectly. Here's the other part of the statement that Coach Riley was mentioning, that he was talking about. There are more bodies there this year than last year. I brought up a couple names. The room's more competitive, unlike last year. So Bear and the people who care about him, they need to understand this. Playing time isn't given, right? It's earned. The bottom line for Bear Alexander, he needs to be more consistent. That's the bottom line. That's what the coaches want from him. We know what he's capable of. We saw the film. He had some really good plays against Michigan. But if Bear doesn't want this to be a story, there's really two ways to quash this. Number one, again, it's a non-story. Talk to the media. Don't avoid us. Don't pay attention to the social media creators. They're there for drama, for clicks. Here's the best way to make this a non-story. Go out against your former defensive coordinator and have the best game of your career this Saturday against Wisconsin. That's how you shut this whole thing down. Completely. That's how you end this non-story. I'm looking forward to seeing how Bear responds this weekend after this non-story has been played up into something. But I wanted to address it because I thought the statement that Coach Riley gave after practice really kind of just encapsulates what they're looking for from Bear. They love what he is. They love what he's capable of. They want to see more of it, and they want to see it on a consistent basis. And I think that's really all you want to do. That's all you want to ask of your best players, to do that, to perform. Hey, USC fans, have you heard about ROY? It stands for Return on You. It's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. Is Bear Alexander one of your favorite athletes? Check out Roy. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. As you all know, NIL has changed the game. Roy has changed NIL, the NIL game, for the fans. When you join Roy, you're going to get exclusive content access. When fans contribute to a successful campaign, they receive exclusive content from the athlete, such as their announcement decision, as well as behind-the-scenes footage and other personal reflections, all of which are available only to the fans who support the athlete. There's no risk with your contributions. Fans' contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes a decision that aligns with the fan support. If not, you're going to get your money back. So there's no risk. Engage with the athletes on their NIL journey. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter a referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered to. You're going to be entered into a sweepstakes for $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Get the Roy app for iOS or Android and start making an impact on your favorite team. Get off the sidelines and support the players. Change the game with Roy. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn is a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals. That was a B, billion, which makes it the best place to hire. And hiring is really super easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses, they're going to get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. And LinkedIn knows small businesses, you guys, you wear a lot of hats, kind of like this one right here. And you might not have a lot of time or resources. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So USC had 2 weeks to prepare for the Michigan Wolverines. We know USC were close, no cigar, but they did play like bosses. That's Lincoln Riley's word, not mine. I don't necessarily disagree. I wouldn't say they were the big boss. Michigan got that title. One of my favorite quotes from Tuesday's presser with Coach Riley is when he was asked what the tape showed after watching it. The tape revealed we saw 47 runs, and we played 43 of them like a bunch of bosses. Honestly, that's what it revealed. I love it. No, he didn't excuse the 3 big runs that came up, total 153, 157 yards, whatever that number was. They led to their scores. He acknowledged them, said they have to be more, when you're going up against teams that are going to run the ball as much as Michigan does and who are as good at it as they are, you're going to get guys popping runs every now and then, but they can't go for those big 43, 57-yard touchdown runs, 63-yard setting up the winning score runs. Hold them to those 10-yard runs. Those are explosive plays. Remember, anything 10 yards or more to Antonlynn is explosive. 10 yards. They crushed that number. Well, they were preparing for Alex Grinch against Michigan, new quarterback, backup. Well, they're preparing for another backup who's going to be a starter this week against Wisconsin. In fact, this is their third game in a row. Pig Farmer, Utah State was the first one. And again, Alex Grinch last week against Michigan. And now Wisconsin's had a bye week to get their new starter, Braden Locke, ready. Luke Fickell's team, Wisconsin, they play the same brand of offense as Michigan. Run, 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 throw. Wisconsin's more run, run, throw, run, run, throw. They're going to throw the ball more. I can tell you that. This is what Coach Fickell had to say. I think he said this on Monday. Another opportunity for Braden Locke to get some more reps now that we are in the situation where Tyler Van Dyke, their former starting quarterback, who's out for the year. So in some ways, it came at a good point for that. He's referring to the bye week. So again, Coach Fickell, he's getting that extra week to get Locke ready for USC's bosses on defense. He's not novice to starting. Okay, this won't be his first start. He actually started 3 games last year for Wisconsin when their quarterback QB1 went down with an injury. He's actually played in 5 games so far in his career. He's completed 50% of his passes for 902 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception throughout his career. Not bad. That interception came in his first real playing time last year against Iowa. Really good defense. He played against Ohio State last year as well. Solid defense. In his last game, he was part of that loss to Alabama at home this year. Yeah, he completed less than 50% of his passes, around 160 yards, approximately, roughly. Wisconsin lost at home, 42-10. It was ugly. So as I mentioned, Wisconsin will throw the ball more than Michigan does, but make no mistake about it, USC has the advantage here when it comes to defending Wisconsin's passing game. Yes, Locke can run if he has to, but he's not running because they want him to. I guess that's the best way to put it. They don't have to defend him or prepare for him like they did for an Alex Grinch. So, new team, same story. LSU wanted a fist fight. They wanted to run the ball. USC won that fight. Michigan won their fight with USC by technical knockout. I'm going to say it again. The judging was suspect in that fight. Just saying. And now you've got Luke Fickell bringing his big guys, their big offensive line. They want to do what the Wolverines do. They want to do what they were able to do. And this is what he said when he was talking to the media this week. You still want to be able to lean upon those guys in a lot of the things that we've done. And we've done that, I think, a little bit more in the first few weeks. We've been pretty efficient in running the football. And maybe it hasn't been as explosive as we'd like, but we went into the year and the season thinking about relying on those guys and leaning on those guys heavily. And, we'll continue to do that. If USC's defense plays like they did last week, okay, they don't allow 3 explosive running plays and a pick 6, that's not on the defense. I encourage Coach Luke Fickell to try that approach. This will be another good test for USC. It'll be at home, sold out, Coliseum, 12:30 kickoff. Don't forget. We're going to see what USC's made of now. Are they bosses? I think they are. Wisconsin rushed against Alabama. They rushed for 149 yards. Alabama made them earn every single one of those yards. They had just 4 carries. 4 just 4 carries of more than 10 yards. Their longest run was 21 yards, and that one ended with a fumble. So you average everything out there under 4 yards per carry, 3.6 yards per rush to be exact. I don't have any Alex Grinch quotes yet for this game. I'm sure I'll find one by the time we're done talking about it this week. However, Mike Tressel's co-defensive coordinator had this to say about Alex Grinch. Clearly, he has some feel for what the USC offense is. There's no doubt about it. The other side of the coin is when he was going against them, talk about USC's offense, whether it's spring ball or fall camp, there weren't game plans involved. What he was going against was just true blackboard install. So there's tweaks he hasn't faced yet. You'd be crazy not to ask him, hey, what do you think here? Hey, what do you think works best here? Hey, what do you think's the best way to defend this player? So he's heavily involved in every game plan we have. But anytime you have somebody who has a little bit of extra knowledge, you're going to lean into them. Close the quote. Let me just end this segment with this, since we're talking about Alex Grinch and what he brings to the defensive side of the ball. He coaches the safeties. He has the co-defensive coordinator name on his resume. Alabama scored 3 passing touchdowns last week or 2 weeks ago against Wisconsin. 3 of those passing touchdowns went for 30 yards, and then they also had a 26-yard rushing touchdown. USC fans, does that sound familiar? Yes, it does. Hey, NFL fans, start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So you know when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, now you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Never used FanDuel before? Here's your chance. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Going to give you a little bit of an injury report. My rehab island. Coach Riley spoke about it after practice Tuesday, so we can talk about it here. He was asked about Lake McCree, tight end. Will he be out? How long? Well, Coach Riley said a few weeks. Overall, that's good news. Coach Riley saying he's not going to miss the entire year. Look, I'm not a doctor. I do stay at the Holiday Inn very often. So if by a few weeks, Dr. Riley means more than 3 or 4 games, I'm going to say that's a conservative estimate. I saw the hit. I know the injury that Lake was recovering from initially, that surgically repaired knee. That was a vicious, vicious hit to the knee. And Coach Riley actually said he wants that kind of tackle removed from the game. Quote, a hit like that does not need to be legal. That makes the game no better. Look, when you've got a smaller defensive back trying to tackle a bigger tight end, they're going low. But it was the angle he took, where he hit him, how hard he hit him. That's why I think Coach Riley has a little bit of vindictiveness when he was referring to that type of tackle. He was asked about Achille Arnold, who was injured late in the game. That's when you saw him coming off the field, dragging his arm. If you were watching the game closely, you might remember he was actually dinged up earlier in the game. Same arm. Coach Riley said he's been limited but improving quickly, and they're hopeful to have him back against Wisconsin. I'll be surprised if he plays. Just giving you, again, my Holiday and doctor's opinion. All I saw him able to do at practice, again, he was limited, but he was attacking one of those drumstick ice cream cones with aggressiveness. It looked good. I wanted one. Look, no ice cream jokes, okay? It wasn't soft serve. If you know, you know. Coach Riley was also asked about sophomore wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. That sophomore pronunciation was for my everyday listener, Reagan, who giggles every time I say it correctly. Ask your teacher. Anyways, Coach Riley said they haven't heard back from the Big Ten yet on that hit on Mackay, but they will. Yeah, I'd be pressing that issue hard if I was Coach Riley. I'm going to say it again. He won't say it. I'll say it. It was a cheap shot. Look, Riley knows that the hit was legal on McCree, but like you heard his answer. He wants it removed. What he meant was it was a dirty hit. Didn't need to be done. Wasn't necessary. Could have tackled him around the waist. Coach Riley was also asked about Elijah Page. Well, apparently Elijah was cramping up in that game before he didn't play in the second half. Do you agree? Yay? Nay? I think that's a hint that Elijah is going to be starting at left tackle again on Saturday, and he should. You need to see you can't destroy a young man's confidence who had a bad game on the road against one of the best defensive lines in the country. Probably not going to face one as good as that for the rest of the season. You got to throw him back out there. Put him back on the horse. Put his feet to the fire. Now, if it becomes a trend, does he start cramping up again? Again, I think that's a little bit of cover. We all saw what we saw. That wasn't Elijah's best game. I'm rooting for him. He's got the ability. He's got the size. I think the moment overwhelmed him. And I'm sure he had some cramps. I think the entire offensive line had some brain cramps. Cheap shot on my end. I'm sorry. I take it back. It just seemed like the softball was there and I had to swing at it. Anyways, moving forward, I did ask, so that's pretty much your rehab island report, your injury report. I asked Coach Riley after practice about, what the process is when they're on the sideline about challenging certain calls, particularly that fourth down spot. He actually said, you know what? He brought up the delay of game. Quote, let me give you what he said. You don't normally see a delayed challenge win. And so it was early in the game. I knew it was late, but I just didn't want to risk the timeout and the challenge that early in the game. All right. He answered the question. Makes sense. Still, how often are you? I get it. You didn't want to lose that challenge early in the game. I get it. I totally get it. But how often do you challenge something twice? And I don't think losing a timeout in the first half really matters. I know I'm using hindsight because they scored one play later. I just think it needs to be. I think anytime you're unsure, make it happen. Roll the dice. You're on the road. And as it turns out, like I said, the judging in this fight seemed a little one-sided. Just a little. I'll drop it. All right, that's it for this episode of Locked on USC. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, I need you to become a subscriber. It's free. Click that red subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up button. Click that bell notification. That way you don't miss an episode. You get all your news, all your notes on USC. 30 minutes or less, right here every day. Plus, you get post-game reaction. Can't wait for this week. It's going to be a much more positive post-game reaction than our last one. All right, that's it. I will be back for another episode tomorrow. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.